be there by the time?
They will be there. Yeah, waiting on a couple, or we're really waiting on one, I guess. But everyone will be there by the time we start. Yes.
Is your team one of the 6 that Greg said has reached the 80% vaccine threshold?
We are rapidly approaching that.
Is that your goal? I mean, are you encouraging your guys to do that?
We're educating our guys. You know, we've had as many educational meetings as we can about it. We've had team meetings, we've had Zooms with parents, we've brought in our own doctors to talk to the families and the players, we've brought in outside medical personnel, doctors. Catherine O'Neill, that does a great job in the SEC, has spoke to the parents and the players on our team. So we trying to make our guys aware of what's going on throughout college athletics, throughout Major League Baseball, NFL, and just educating. You know, obviously we can't force anyone to do anything. Our guys are certainly aware of 2021 is different than 2020 in regards to what could potentially happen if you don't have the minimum number of guys to play. But we're about educating, and ultimately it's their decision.
So part of your messaging is more vaccination means less chance of a forfeit.
Yeah, I mean, I think our guys are smart enough to figure that out, and you know, they're not dumb. They see what happened with NC State baseball. They see what happened, I think, with the Yankees and Red Sox the other night. They saw what happened with, I don't know how many of them follow golf. I saw where Lincoln Riley said this, that a bunch of their players got vaccinated after seeing what happened with John Rahm in the Memorial Golf Tournament. So, you know, ultimately we want to educate them. I think a lot of our guys have had, they hear different false information, misconceptions about, you know, the vaccine, and we want those guys to be able to ask questions freely with the doctors that we've provided for them, and at the end of the day, educate our student athletes, not just in football but in any sport, you know, about the vaccine and about what 2021 is going to look like going forward.
Shane, when it comes to NIL, I know the kids can really sign their own deals at any time, but how do you find out about it? I mean, or do you? Do you know what every kid is going to be doing, or how does that info come to you?
Yeah, they communicate through our athletic department, and eventually, you know, gets to me, and Chance Miller and others in our athletic department are kind of the point, you know, for that. And there's a process that our guys are supposed to go through when they do sign any kind of deal to make us aware. And I've been proud of them, and they've been very responsible, the ones that have signed deals, about who they're signing them with, making sure they're reading the fine print, and they're not rushing into anything, and being smart about it. I mean, Nick and Kingsley and I were talking about it a little bit on the way over, just making sure they're making the right decisions, and we find out about it. I'm not hoarding over and get a report at the end of every day as far as who signed what, but we are aware of it, and you know, we're here. We can't facilitate things and can't, you know, set things up, but we certainly want to be able to assist in any way that we're legally able to, and fortunate to have Altius that we've partnered with to help our guys do that also.
Is there maybe a hypothetical where something might come across your desk and say, like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with him endorsing that? Or?
I guess you never say never. I mean, there's certain things that, you know, when you think about a student athlete signing that you maybe have a conversation with.
Yeah.
Look, David, this may seem like a good idea right now, but let's think about 3-4 years down the road. Is this really something you want to have your name tied to? But that hasn't come up, and if it does, you know, I'm sure somebody before it even gets to me would have those conversations with them, whether it be Altius or somebody in our administration.
What have the returns been like as far as what guys have been doing this summer and the weight program, you know, skills and drill stuff?
It's been good. It's been really good. I don't think you're ever going to have a football coach, kind of like signing day. He's never going to say he had a bad signing day. You're never going to find a coach say they're having a bad summer. But I think we've had a great summer. I really have. I mean, I've been around Columbia enough to be in the weight room and watching them. I was in there today with two of our the 7 a.m. group before we came over, and then the 8:45 group just watching. And they've really worked hard. And we talked about it as a team that the best teams that I've been around, they take a step in the summertime, they get better, they're player-led, player-run, and we've really had some guys that have stepped up from that standpoint, from what the guys have told me, and really pleased with it, really working hard, and it all goes back. I mean, our guys are hungry. They're not happy with what's happened in Columbia the last 2 seasons, and they're you know, eager to have the kind of season that we all feel like we can have.
Who are those guys
That are kind of stepping up?
Yes.
You know, Aaron Sterling's a guy that, you know, Luke Day has mentioned to me that really, since the end of spring practice until now, has taken a huge step, you know, with his body physically, strength in the weight room, the way that he's kind of leading the guys out there on the field. Part of the reason Dick and Kingsley are over here today is because of the way that they've worked in the weight room, and the fact that they've been the kind of leaders that they've been since the day I got here. carries a lot of weight with me, and part of the reason they're here today. So those are some guys. Luke Doty, I mean, like it or not, if he's your quarterback, he better be a leader for you. And we've tried to spend a lot of time with our players from a leadership standpoint, and knowing whose voice carries weight on our team and making sure they're using that the right way, and then who needs to be a leader and bringing those guys along and helping them with that as well. But those are some guys that either have had great summers or are doing a great job of leading this summer for us.
You missed the traditional introductory press conference because of the protocols.
Yeah.
It was a different experience. Does any part of today feel like your first meeting with the media, your first real I'm a head coach moment? It stared me right in the face.
Yeah, standing here with you guys is one, and not staring at your boxes on a TV screen.
Right.
That's one. Walking in the lobby, I guess in years past, it's a mob scene in that lobby. We didn't quite have that today, but being able to walk in and then look down that hallway of, there's Radio Row or sitting in this room and watching it on TV, and I just passed Coach Ogeron upstairs in the hallway, and then I come back downstairs, and there's Commissioner Sankey introducing him right downstairs or wherever I'm going, upstairs, wherever I'm going next. For that, to see that, okay, it's real, and it's here. So certainly part of it, and I'm excited about it. I enjoy this aspect of it. Love talking about South Carolina football, and certainly this is other than being around the team day in, day out, this is really another, okay, it's here and it's real, type moment.
What can you do for your program today? How do you advance, the wins and losses, the South Carolina program in an event like this?
I think we just talk about where we are right now and where we're going. And, what we've done in the past at Carolina, it's not that long ago that we were winning a whole lot of football games and competing for SEC championships and playing in Atlanta. I'm not talking about something that was done 30, 40 years ago. It was 10 years ago ish. And just being able to talk about that and the excitement around the program right now and the type of young men that we have in the program, the way that recruiting is going, and just being able to talk about that and answer you guys' questions and people feeling good about the direction of this program going forward.
Shane, as you get closer to this thing, obviously you probably don't put a number of wins and losses on it, but what is an expectation now? Has it changed? What is your expectation for year one for this fall? What do you see it as?
Yeah, I know it's cliche, just to be the very best that we can be. I'm not going to say if we say wins and who are we conceding. I'm not conceding anything right now as far as wins and losses. Let's be the very best team that we can be. And I know talking about the process and all that's very cliche, but it's true. Let's be the very best we can be today, and we'll worry about tomorrow, and then take each game as it comes, and take our head out of the water in December when the season's over, or January hopefully, and see where we are.
You mentioned Luke as a guy who's taking a step forward as a leader. Is that still an open shut deal? You feel like he's the number one quarterback rolling into the fall? Is that still a competition as we get into the fall?
Yeah, he's number one going into it, and like we've told him and all those quarterbacks and all the positions. We're about competition in this program, and he's got to continue to compete to be that guy. And he's done nothing over the summer to change our mind and what he's done and the way he's going about his business. But Jason Brown and Colton, those guys, Connor, they've worked really, really hard. Jason's working his rear end off. Every time I look at, you mentioned other people, every time I look out my office window, Jason Brown's out there just running extra on his own, trying to lose weight and get in shape. And he's very passionate and very driven and focused. And I'm really, really excited about the start of practice just to see how we've improved over the summer and get out there to have a month to work with those guys before we start.
Shane, made any decisions on uniforms yet? That helmet you showed sent the internet.
Yeah, I know. Blame Justin King for that one. We were doing a photo shoot, and he gave me that helmet and said we need to take a picture because this will set Twitter ablaze, and it did for sure. So no, I'm just trying to get through, do the best we can today, and then we'll worry about uniforms as we get closer to the first game. But the least of my worries each week will be what we're wearing. Like I've told you before, let's worry about how we play and not what we're wearing.
I'm not familiar with the transfer portal rules. Can you talk about Prunty yet?
Yes, he's on campus.
Okay,
He's on campus now.
That was my question. He's on campus and participating in everything full go.
Yep, he got there last Tuesday. I guess he arrived and in the weight room and he's there and that was a great recruiting battle that we won and fortunate to have him down there. Somebody that I was aware of, obviously being at Oklahoma and playing against Kansas last year and knowing what a talented player he is, and then when he went into the portal, that was a That's a big addition for us to go along with a lot of other talented guys that we have in the secondary. But you guys know, attrition-wise, we were hit pretty hard at defensive back, and during spring practice, I mean, we had a guy that came out in a walk-on tryout that was James Bartholomew, was playing. He's our backup corner with the second-team defense during spring practice, and he had just come out on the team about a week earlier in a walk-on tryout. So we needed to increase the depth at that position, and Karan certainly helps us do that.
In that vein, are there any guys that were with the program that are no longer here that you were expecting to be here right now?
None other than the one that was reported, last week. Yeah.
And Norris and Bam, are both those guys in?
On track.
Okay.
On track to be there.
Shane, back to the expectations. How do you temper the low expectations that the people outside of your football building have for this team versus what you guys have internally?
Sure. Yeah, let's worry about what we can control and people's perception of us. It is what it is. We're really not going to care if we're being picked last in the SEC, and really not going to care if they pick us to win it, one day. Let's be the very best that we can be, and we're all, I know I am. I mean, I'm motivated internally. Let's be the very best that we can be, and the only way to quote unquote quiet, the doubters is to win football games. So let's worry about what we can control, and that's preparing to win football games this fall.
What is the approach when you're trying to juggle a lot of those transfer DBs, whether it's Prunty or Ross or Carlos Patel? I mean, there are a lot of guys who obviously weren't around for the spring that are trying to get acclimated.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think it's 5 that weren't there for spring practice that are there now, either that we've added because of transfer or high school signees.
Yeah.
They're there right now. So it's going to be great competition in that defensive back group, and all 3 of those guys that you just named. Fortunately, they were all came out in different time periods when they were in the portal and we were recruiting them.
Mm-hmm.
One, then another. It wasn't all at the same time, and we really, from a numbers standpoint, felt like we were good, but then just felt like the opportunity to add another impact guy, there at the end was something that we needed to do. And then you also look at recruiting wise, where are we in the guys that we're recruiting for that upcoming senior class that figures into, are you better off taking a transfer now or taking a high school prospect, and who you're on and what are the chances of getting them and things like that. So you're not just thinking about right now this summer, you're also balancing a year or two down the road as well.
Shane, I know your dad's been around a bunch. Does he have an official title yet or anything like that?
A granddad. That's what he is right now. So he's been spending more time with grandchildren than he has helping out the South Carolina football program. But he's getting, I can tell, he was the same way as a coach. As it got closer to the season, you could tell that fire started burning, and he's already, he's booked hotel rooms for the East Carolina game. He's already planning on coming to Athens. He's coming to every home game, he told me, and he's excited. So we may, you never know. So you never know. We'll get him down there and get him assistance somehow.
With the dead period, have you had a chance to sit down and kind of look back at the spring and in June, and what are some of the challenges that you guys faced, I guess, in your first year as a head coach?
Yeah, as soon as spring practice was over, when it was fresh in our mind, we sat down, as I did, and then us as a staff, and let's just talk about before we get into May and the players are gone. We met with every player individually, myself and all the position coaches, and kind of talked about where they were coming out of spring. We looked back as a staff at spring practice and all right, where are we? What do we do well? There may be some things that we were doing schematically, offense, defense, and special teams, in going into spring practice that frankly just doesn't fit us, and we need to maybe adjust and figure out what we do well. So there's things that we adjust and we adapt throughout the summertime, and that's what we've done. So looking back at the spring, I thought it went really well. Probably the biggest challenge is just the amount of guys that didn't practice during the spring. You guys know, I think it's 25 guys, 20 something that didn't even play in the spring game because of injuries. So there's a lot of guys, Marshawn Lloyd, Jalen Dickerson. There's a lot of guys like that we didn't even get to see practice during spring practice that we're eager to see once we start up here in a few weeks.
Marshawn still full go right now?
Yeah. Yep.
I was just going to ask generally, how would you rate the month of June with recruiting and how all that stuff went?
On a scale of 10, an 11, just to be able to...
Not a 15?
Maybe 15, sometimes I think about it. So we didn't get everybody that we had on campus on visits, but just the response and regardless of what had happened, the excitement of just being able to get young men and their families on campus was pretty cool and exciting. But then the amount of guys that decided they wanted to become Gamecocks, or guys that we feel like are very close to becoming Gamecocks based off the visits in June, was pretty awesome also. So ask me again here in about a month, it may be 15, so.